Looks like it's that time again. Time for another AEW Dynamite review here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hi, I'm Mr. Warren Hayes. Today is June 8th. We are going to be reviewing the AEW Dynamite that occurred on June 7th. It's the day after, like we usually like to do it. Everything seems perfectly kosher and fine when that stuff happens. So here we are. Hi. And we're about to do it, but before we get into that, you all know the drill. Like this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel as well. You'll never miss another one of these reviews. Plus, you'll get all the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper content that you get on a regular basis on top of it all. So there you go. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, I'm also available there if you didn't know. But if you are, you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, 5-star rating on Spotify. Helps out tremendously. Helps out a great deal. And then, if you subscribe and you follow and all that stuff, you will also be privy to my upcoming brand new set of content, which is going to be an AEW Collision review, which we're going to set into. We'll probably do it next day. Same thing as with the Dynamite reviews, but for Collision. So if you want some of that, we're going to be starting this. We're going to be starting this on the 18th, right? The day after the first Collision. We even have our main event set. We'll talk about that in a second. But look, there's more stuff coming your way. And if you're into that kind of stuff, my G1 coverage is going to be happening all throughout July and August. So there's a lot of your boy's going to be pumping out a lot of reviews, a lot of videos, a lot of stuff. So I highly recommend you come and subscribe and follow if you aren't already. Just as a heads up, it's going to be worth your while. But in the meantime, before Collision and Collision reviews become a gleam, they're not a gleam in my eye anymore. This is actually happening. Before they actually come to fruition, we got to talk about Dynamite, as we do every week here. Like I said, June 7th, happening in Colorado Springs from the Broadmoor World Arena. And spoiler alert, I enjoyed this Dynamite. If you don't want to hang out till the end, to get my overall thoughts, I thought this was pretty good. I thought it was fun. It felt like a Dynamite. Was it a mind-blowing, mind-melting experience like it was last week? No. No. Because Dynamites like that happen, once in a while. They're special. They have to stay special. But this one had all the elements that make it such a fun watch. We're still on the right track here. We're not dipping back into April last year. Last April, I should say, not last year. This year, where things are sort of iffy and a little frustrating. No, things feel good. Things feel good, and we're in Forbidden Door season. AEW International title was the first match that we got at the gate. Orange Cassidy, the workhorse, he's back again. Successfully retained his title against Swerve Strickland in something that I was not expecting. I was absolutely not expecting Orange Cassidy to come out of this match with the title. I enjoyed this match quite a bit. I thought actually the second half of this match was particularly good. I think that's really what made it special. We had all sorts of, you want your moves, you want your big, excuse me, that's fantastic audio, isn't it? You want your top spots, you want your big moves, big power moves. We got them here. DVD on the apron by Strickland. Then Cassidy does a jumping DDT off the apron. Then we get an orange punch and a beach break. But that doesn't put Strickland away because Swerve still, Orange Cassidy is still very much injured and fatigued. The orange punch hasn't been effective for weeks. The beach break doesn't have as much punch because his back hurts, his arm hurts, he can't get it done. So Strickland kicks out of that. We got a brain buster on the floor by Swerve. But Cassidy locks in the mousetrap, and Swerve is able to kick out of it. And then I'm like, okay, that's it. We're done. We're done. And I even put this in the Discord. That's it. Because this is why I had called. The day someone figures out how to sneak out of the mousetrap, Orange Cassidy's finished. That's when he loses the title. So at that point, I'm completely in on, oh, Swerve is going to do this. Here we go. He goes for he being Swerve, goes for the double stomp. Cassidy kicks out. He goes for the JML driver, but Orange Cassidy rolls through it, gets him in a pin in a schoolboy, I guess. Holds the tights, gets the win. He had to hold the tights. He had no more options. Won by the skin of his teeth. Battered, bruised Orange Cassidy in a fantastic tale of championship retention here. Week after week, or close to, defending the title. He's exhausted, he's battered, he's bruised, he's not taking any breaks. He's just like, yeah, no, I did a, open challenge, let's go. It's Orange Cassidy, right? And week after week, he keeps getting more injured, he keeps sneaking through wins. Now you kind of feel like he's at the end of his rope here. The orange punch is ineffective. The beach break is ineffective. The orange punch and the beach break together is ineffective. That's not good news. Mousetrap, not as effective as it was. Now we have people sneaking out of it, which used to be his last resort thing. Now his last resort thing is rolling people up and holding tights. I love how this story has played out. Yes, it is a story. I can't stand this talk about stories in pro wrestling anymore. I really can't. So I'm not going to dwell on it. But this story, I'm not going to dwell on that subject. I can dwell on this story, though. This story here has been fantastic. It's been an absolute, it is a textbook pro wrestling story that has been happening for weeks and just had this nice, natural, quiet build of Orange Cassidy week after week, having good to great defenses. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, he's like 20-0. He's 22-0. Now he's what, like 24? I don't know how much he's at anymore. But the story, and he's been saying it in backstage interviews with Renee Paquette. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. Like, it's not rocket science. We don't need, we don't need, infinite amounts of monologuing to get this across. It's all happening in the ring before our eyes. Show your story, don't tell it. This is it. And it's fantastic. And Orange Cassidy is having a fantastic year so far. We're going to be coming up to, we're coming up to the halfway point of the year very, very soon, in July. For reports and all that, remember, if anyone wants to add Orange Cassidy to the Wrestler of the Year shortlist for their half year, it makes a lot of sense. He has had a remarkable run. So now we're at the point where all of his typical offense is not working. His big finishing offense, it's not working out for him. Now he has to resort to holding tights to get a win. Oh boy, our boy Orange is in trouble. So he is going to lose the title, probably to Swerve, in the next match. Swerve will probably get the upper hand. He'll have seen all the weaknesses, how bad everything is, and that's it. We're done. Orange Cassidy's reign will be over. And Swerve, I think what Swerve needs to do in that match, he needs to be even more apparent on how bad he'll be exploiting the injuries, how hurt Cassidy is, how tired he is. He needs to be even more blatant, because Swerve is a cerebral wrestler. That's his thing. He's a smart wrestler. So he should come into the next match with this very clear game plan and be very blatant about it, be a weasel throughout, and get the win. Anyway, after the match here, the embassy, are we calling it still the Mogul Embassy, or is it just the straight up embassy? Because they came out to, on the Tonytron, they had the embassy logo. It wasn't Mogul Embassy. I don't know. But listen, Prince Nana and the boys hit the ring to beat Orange Cassidy down a little more. See, a little more damage there. And the lights come back up after a little while. It was a little long. People seem to have trouble hitting their spots. And Sting and Darby Allin were in the ring, having chased off the embassy dudes, the Mogul Embassy dudes. So this relationship between Orange Cassidy, Darby, and Sting, which has roots, continues. I like it. You can't say that all of this isn't over. You're just kidding yourself if you are. You're just absolutely kidding yourself. But fun match to kick things off. Another hot match and a fun little angle to wrap it up, and the ongoing saga of Orange Cassidy's remarkable International Championship defense continues. We get a video package hyping up the main event. Ricky Starks, Jay White. Again, Jay White just cutting promos and sounding fantastic. We're going to get to that in a bit. Then Bryan Danielson comes out to join commentary, setting up for the BCC match. But before we settle everything down, we do a recap of Danielson's challenge to Kazuchika Okada. Just to make sure everyone understands. And to make sure everyone understands what the story is. Because we can't just have cool matches, right? We can't just have matches pop out of nowhere and have people really, really legitimately excited. No, we have to cater to all the people who have no idea, who don't watch AEW, who have no idea who Kazuchika Okada is, right? We have to cater to these people. Give them a story. Well, here's the story. Bryan Danielson says, they call him a once-in-a-lifetime talent. I'm a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Oh, there you go. Okay, he's just bitter and angry. There's your story. What do you need something more? Should Okada raid Danielson's home and kidnap Brie? Is that something we should do? Should Danielson, go back to Japan and steal Kazuchika Okada's, entrance robe, his gi, whatever you want to call it? Should we be doing that? Would that add more to the match? Would that make you feel better? Would that be a good story? Would that get you more invested into this match? That's the story. The story is Kazuchika Okada and Bryan Danielson, two of the greatest to ever do it, are going to be fighting for the first time. Both are pretty much at the peak of their careers. Let's go. That's the story. It's just a cool match. And then this is followed up, because we cut back from commercial, this is followed up by a little hype reel for Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door. Again, wrapping everything up in a nice little bow to make sure everyone understands what the story here is. Kenny Omega holds a title and there's a challenger. That's the basic story. Sure, add in, them two having one of the greatest matches of all time at Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. That's another layer, but apparently challenging for titles isn't enough as a story. Anyway, Blackpool Combat Club, represented by Claudio, Castagnoli, John Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta, defeated the Chaos Troupe of Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, and Rocky Romero. I thought this was well worked, fast-paced. I think it's no surprise that they referred to the best friends and Rocky Romero as Chaos here, which is Kazuchika Okada's faction in New Japan. And, again, Excalibur took the time to explain it. There's no excuses. Just pay attention, folks. So, but basically I'm saying that there's no surprise here because this is akin to Bryan Danielson's boys going after Okada's boys. So, it wasn't a mistake that they were using Chaos here. And the Chaos boys go after the Blackpool Combat Club before the bell, and they're just all over the place. It's fantastic. Like a great opening. Still lots of palpable animosity between Wheeler Yuta and the Best Friends. Best Friends land the soul food half and half combo. BCC land a heart attack. Look, it's just great back and forth throughout the entire thing. It's really good. Best Friends land strong zero. The pin gets broken up though. Trent goes for an SIE moonsault that Claudio anti-airs with an uppercut. Just Pwomp. Fantastic stuff. Hammer and anvil elbows by Wheeler and Moxley in the ring. John locks in a submission and Rocky taps. Wheeler keeps pounding at Chuck. After the bell, just grinding in some more shots. Referee's like, hey, cut this shit out. And I'm like, hey. He eventually lets go. And I like how, then Wheeler's like, he's super intense, but I like how Moxley and Claudio, they're like, hey, they're super proud of him. They're like, roughing up his hair. Like, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. Like, to this point, even right now, the BCC is still some of the best stuff in AEW. It's really some of the best stuff in AEW still. Then we cut to backstage where we have the Jacksons, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page, who challenged the BCC for the big Washington show next week, the 1 year anniversary of AEW, and in the same building and so on and so forth, which is going to rule. But I think I speak for most of us when I say I was not expecting to hear the words Hung Bucks uttered on national American television. I mean, look, it's the name that Page and the Bucks would use as a trio when they teamed together, in Ring of Honor in Japan, whatever. They'd call themselves the Hung Bucks, right? It caught me by surprise because I was not expecting Excalibur to have the gumption to utter those words on television. I'm like, fantastic, let's go. Wrestling is back, baby. So we're getting the Hung Bucks versus the BCC next week. Let's get excited about it. I think it's a good reason to get excited. It's a very good reason to get excited. And then we come back from commercial and MJF hits the ring for a promo. He shits on Colorado. He's consistent with his distaste for Colorado. Like, I know he's always like, this place sucks. Of course he's a heel, except when he's in Long Island. But every time they go to Colorado, like, I find he's particularly pointed towards Colorado. Like, there's something there that he really does not like. And I feel he pushes on the gas a little more than in other cities where he just says, you suck. So like, he makes an emphasis on the fact that this place stinks. So the audience respond to him by saying, you suck. And he responds by saying, well, your mother swallows. He talks about there being no competition in AEW for him, which is, has been his thing, saying no one is on the level of the devil. That brings out, to my surprise, Adam Cole. And why am I surprised? Well, as I've been mentioning over the past couple of weeks, I feel like an Adam Cole feud with MJF is inevitable, but out the gate, I thought MJF CM Punk would have been the one because, like I mentioned, MJF is owed a match by CM Punk. Not only a match, but CM Punk owes lying flat on his back for the 1, 2, 3 for MJF. That he owes him that. I've covered this in the past. We're not going to rehash this right now. So I'm surprised. I'm legitimately surprised that out the gate we are going with Adam Cole, who I feel probably could have used a little more rehabilitation. I mentioned last week on the review the tag team match that he had on Dynamite last week was absolutely designed for him to get some heat back off of that tepid performance at Double or Nothing, right? So I'm convinced that's what it was for. So now we're leaning right into it, major babyface, and I know there's now it's very much I find a la mode to criticize Adam Cole. Like now he's the center of a lot of issues. Like, why are we pushing this guy? He's washed, body, so on and so like all the all of the usual tropes that you get with Adam Cole. He's too small. He doesn't look like a champion. His body, all that. Now we have these. Well, he's washed situations where I was like, Christ, let's legitimately pump the brakes here. I think there's a lot of undue criticism here as it stands right now. Now, do I think Adam Cole is better as a heel? Oh, absolutely. I absolutely 100% believe Adam Cole is much more compelling as a heel. Good look. I'm not ready yet to toss this guy to the side, to cast him aside. He still has tremendous upside. But look, let's talk about this promo a little bit that MJF cuts. It says when CM Punk left him and he thought his wrestling fandom had gone, he flipped channels, saw a show called Ring of Honor, and he thought Ring of Honor sucked until he saw a man with slicked black hair and icy blue eyes. Slick in the ring and perfect on the microphone, he was genuinely instantly hooked on Adam Cole. He references Cole working and winning titles in CZW, the major indies, talks about going to Florida where he shocked the system as Shawn Michaels' handpicked guy. The best champion that promotion ever saw, and that's undisputed. Fans start calling MJF a mark. And he says, yeah, I'm a mark. I'm a mark for Adam Cole. That's fine. He says that he was looking forward to Adam Cole joining AEW. He thought it was inevitable so that they could feud together. MJF, with another generational talent. But then this guy showed up. He said, what happened to the Adam Cole I knew? He used to be the Panama Playboy. Now he's the Panama Game Boy. Maybe not the best. But I get it. But also, he says he says now Adam Cole spends his time playing Twitch like a virgin Gollum, which is, I don't know why we had to add virgin Gollum. Has Gollum ever got any? Like, if I would assume, like, it would be my assumption that Gollum is inherently a virgin. In fact, most hobbits, I feel, are. You're gonna tell me Frodo Baggins is not a virgin? Anyway, whole other topic for a whole other podcast. Britt Baker, he says also Britt Baker keeps leaving the house with his balls in her purse. This is MJF talking about Cole as well. And then he talks about the physique. Didn't you used to have the physique of a world champion? And MJF says, some people say it's the company that is misusing Adam Page, but he says, look, they're doing everything to make you look cool, Adam. They give you the big entrance, they give you the pyro, they give you the music, they give you the girl, they give you the reality show. And he says, all they have to do with me to make me cool is ring the damn bell, and I'm the greatest wrestler of all time. Cole fires back, says Max is coming across as a toxic social media troll. And there's a lot of things that he could talk about, and that he's going to skim over, like Britt, although Britt could kick your ass, MJF. We're just going to skip over that. Adam Cole tries to roast him back. Well, and when I say try, he does it. He references his fiance leaving him as, why are you so obsessed with other people's relationships when you can't hang on to one on your own? Calls him a douchebag. Shoots back at the body issues. Says, haha, as if I haven't heard those before. Says, but if you want to go down that road, MJF, we could go backstage and piss at some cups to see who's natural and who isn't. Oh, you don't want to do that, do you? Oh, interesting. But then he starts making this all about respect, he being Adam Cole, and how nobody in the back respects MJF. He says, oh, no one respects me. That's such a shame. I'll cry in my money about it. This is tough talk coming from Keith Lee's manager, which is really funny. And then this gets to them setting up a match for each other. Later, we learn that we're going to get Adam Cole versus MJF next week on Dynamite in an eliminator match. So that was the extent of the promo, which I really liked. And I feel like I'm on an island on this one. Maybe there's a couple of people with me on it, but I feel like overall this is being nitpicked to hell. And this was a very entertaining promo segment. And at this point, if you're not used to what MJF does in the ring with promos, and I don't know what to tell you, and I don't know what standard MJF has to do anymore to make people live up to him. Because look, all throughout, here's the thing, all throughout the feud with the four pillar feud, everyone was saying, MJF isn't as good, he's not shining. He's not pulling out these great MJF promos, so on and so forth. And they're letting the other guys talk, which is a disaster. And I had posited, I said, look, maybe MJF is dialing it back because the three other dudes can't hold a candle to him. Maybe. So then people are, MJF, what's going on? And then he comes in and he cuts it. Like, this is a classic cookie cutter MJF promo. And I don't mean this in a bad way. More like hitting all the beats as opposed to cookie cutter. Let's use that. He hits all the typical MJF beats here. And people are still like, they're still grumbling about it. It's too long. That's the one bit of criticism that I might get behind. It's like, you know what? Maybe at some points, like you could have tightened this ship up a little bit. Sure, I can agree with that. I think you could have shaved off a couple of minutes. Some of the stories. Some of the extent to which we were diving into Adam Cole's past with other promotions and WWE and all that. Maybe we could have left that aside. But the things about low-hanging fruit is like, this is MJF. MJF is by design created for you not to cheer for him. This is his thing. His job is to get the babyface over. So people complain about the low-hanging fruit, and then what does Adam Cole have as a comeback? It says, you're a troll. You act like a social media troll. You're a douchebag. And yes, he conducts himself like a douche. Is there a more douchebag response to anything than him responding, your mother swallows? Like, that is the most douchebag thing. So he's right. And this is just well-executed heel heat, where he goes into it using all these, these poor ass things, and Adam Cole calling him out on it. Outright saying, brother, you're terrible. You're a douchebag. We don't like you. We've never liked you. And we don't respect you on top of that because you act like a fucking douchebag. That's the difference between you and me. I have trouble understanding what the overall issue with this, with especially MJF's part. What the issue was. And yes, he's drawn out and he he drew this up. But again, this is what he does. He yaps, he talks. And then eventually, Adam Cole just picks up a microphone and he keeps his points concise. So again, we're doing juxtaposition here. Adam Cole gets on the mic. He's much shorter, much more concise. He gets to the point, as opposed to MJF, who goes, it's story time. We open up, volumes 1 through 6 of this series in one promo. So of course, then when it's time for the babyface to cut his stuff, and you're like, yeah, Adam Cole, cool guy. That's what you're supposed to do. And on top of it, I don't give a shit about him bringing up Vince McMahon, right? He brought up Vince McMahon. He brought up the rumor that Vince McMahon didn't see potential in Adam Cole, and that's why he hit the bricks, right? And then he says, oh, maybe Vince was right. And people are like, oh, there they go, referencing the WWE. Here's the thing, and there's two elements to this tale, first and foremost. First of all, is there any bigger heel thing you could do to an AEW fan than to say, I agree with Vince McMahon? I don't think you could. Vince McMahon is the biggest heel for AEW fans. We don't like Vince. They don't like him at all. That's the whole premise of this company. We don't want to work for Vince because Vince is an awful person. So you have the top heel of the company saying Vince McMahon was right. Perfect. That's how you get people riled up. People were riled up for MJF's promo. Oh, fuck you. You agree with Vince McMahon. Eat shit, MJF. Fantastic stuff. But then the second point here that I want to bring up, it's the point that I bring up multiple times. The canon of AEW is professional wrestling. It's professional wrestling in general, right? Now, we've spent the better part of 2 decades with one company living in a silo, living all by itself, and even in the 90s, where on occasion would reference the competition, but very, very seldom. But they would live in a silo in a universe. It's no mistake why they call it the WWE universe, right? Because everything else doesn't exist in it. I hope this isn't lost on anyone, right? The WWE universe legitimately means this is our bubble, this is our thing, and nothing else lives within it because we control everything within this universe. So whatever happens on the outside, it is of no purpose to WWE. So we have seen this company do one thing one way and say we don't reference other companies, and then automatically everyone thinks, well, if you're referencing other companies, that's a sign of weakness. You shouldn't be doing that. That's, it's poor form. Who cares? That's not poor form. And if you adhere to the concept that the lore of professional wrestling is AEW's lore, that they will reference New Japan and Ring of Honor and CZW and All Japan and Mid-South and Roddy Piper, and that they will reference all of the rich, deep history of pro wrestling on its show. If you accept that they will do that they will reference the lore of pro wrestling on their show, how can you not refer to Vince McMahon as part of this lore? No one raised an eyebrow when they talked about CZW. No one raised an eyebrow months ago when they would talk about Jim Crockett Promotions or whatnot. No one, but you talk about Vince McMahon, then it's like, okay, keep the other company's name out of their mouth. This is it's par for the course in AEW, and if anything, it's refreshing, you dorks. And this is how it should be. Vince McMahon is ingrained into the history of professional wrestling. He is one of its most important key players. So if you want to talk about it, and if you want to drop his name, you should. You should absolutely do that. You should drop Shawn Michaels' name. He is part of the lore of AEW, even if he works for the of professional wrestling, even if he works for the other guys. Shawn Michaels is a critical, essential figure in the history of world wrestling entertainment. Because they've been around for 50 years. How are you going to avoid talking about WWE? Let's not be stupid here. Because the opposite is ignoring it. And that comes off as disingenuous and moronic. So yes, talk about Vince. Talk about WWE. I don't care. I want more of this. WWE should do more of this. This is what the shit talk is for. There should be more of this in pro wrestling. I don't have a problem with it. And especially when your top heel, the top heel champion of your company is using it to get heat from your fan base who doesn't like the competition. You build AEW off of the back of creating another place for professional wrestlers to work, to create a true alternative to what WWE's vision of pro wrestling. So sure, use the other guys as heels. This is what you should do. And in all the shit talk promos that have existed in the history of AEW, I thought this was the most well done. Because he's dropping Vince as a way to create hate for himself by saying, I agree with Vince McMahon. Like, Jesus Christ. What a way to make sure the fans don't like you anymore, Max. But that's his job. That's what he should do. I wrote an article on this months ago, and it's going to be an evergreen article because every time MJF does this kind of stuff, it's low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit and he should stop talking about WWE. Every time he does it, it's to get those reactions. And he's so good at it. He's such a master of the promo and the mic that when he does it, he can get away with it. If I did that, I couldn't. If Sean Spears were to do that, he wouldn't get away with it. But it's MJF. So yes, there's a different set of rules for him. That's just how it goes. Anyway, I still think the big match should have been MJF and CM Punk. But look, what do I know? The Hardy Boys and Isaiah Cassidy are backstage with Ethan Page, who is now Matt's employee. I sincerely could not give less of a shit about all of this. Anyway, let's move on. Texas, this is something I'd rather much more talk about rather than the Hardy Boys and Ethan Page. Texas Tornado tag match. Jungle Hook defeated Preston, Vance, and Dralistico of La Facción Ingobernable. This ruled. Like this is a match where whatever you were expecting was the complete opposite. I had even zero expectations for this match. And holy shit, this delivered, over-delivered. Hook and Vance fighting into the audience while Jack Perry and Dralistico are in the ring. And then Preston Vance gets cracked in the skull with chains. Look, we get cables, TV cables and chains and tables and chairs, and we're fighting everywhere in the audience. There's chaos happening. It's a Texas Tornado match. Everything is working here. Preston Vance gets creamed across the head with a chain, and he bleeds a gusher. Hook lands an exploder suplex off the apron through some tables. Great spot, which allows Jack Perry to lock in the snare trap on Dralistico for the win. I mean, this match ruled. I don't know what to tell you. This was a blast. And the guys are celebrating in the ring, and they're covered in Vance's blood, both of them. Because that's how much Preston Vance was bleeding. They're both covered in blood. Even though it's Hook that took more of the offense on Vance. It's just fantastic stuff. And look again, another great showing by Hook here. And they're putting him in this context where he can, look, Hook is great and all, and he's a fantastic prospect, but I think we're still all on the same page that, he's still an unfinished product, but putting him in these types of matches, you can mask a lot of his problems. This was great. I want to point out, Jack Perry tearing at Dralistico's mask, that's a very rudo thing to do. That's not very babyface of you, Jack. So are we setting the seeds for, because this seems to be like the overall consensus. What am I trying to say? The overall thought is that Jack Perry is slowly going to be transitioned to a heel, and people seem to think that this is going to be a great thing. I'm not sure. I don't know. Jack has very natural babyface underdog capabilities. And he has trouble getting that across into like a real deal main event thing. How will being a heel improve on that? I don't know. Is it better than not trying anything at all and just try? Sure, absolutely. Actually, I guess I'm not as convinced as a lot of folks are that the Jack Perry heel turn is going to be the problem solver. It might make him a little more interesting. It might be too. That'll depend on him. Maybe this is the angle that we've been needing to really elevate Jack Perry to the next level. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not confident either way, but it's better to try something than nothing at all, I guess. Then we have Tony Khan making the announcement. God, I love it. I'm sorry. And I know they annoy a lot of people, and they kind of do. And I think ultimately the strategy of drip feeding the Collision announcements was not good, because I think it has hurt ticket sales. That's just me. And I talked about it this week on the podcast. I'm not going to rehash this. If you want to watch it, listen to it, go right ahead. But despite the fact that I think the strategy is not great, I'll be damned if I don't laugh my face off every time I see Tony Khan standing there with his mic and his AI voice. It's just, he's so like everything prepared, quartered, and he's not slipping up. He's got the prompter right in front of him, and this is what you do. Don't get me wrong. You want to make sure you say exactly what is needed to be said. And, I don't think Tony's that great an improviser when it comes to this type of mic work. So I absolutely write up his script, let it roll on the prompter in front of him. But his suit and standing there and the smile. I just love those segments. There's something so, he's the greatest. He's so memeable. I think that's the thing. He's just so memeable. But he announced the main event of the July 17 Collision in Chicago. Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Samoa Joe will be taking on CMFTR. It's happening, baby. It's becoming reality. CM Punk and FTR are going to be a thing on Collision. That's your big main event to kick things off. Why isn't CM Punk in a singles match? Listen, why would you put CM Punk on his night back in a singles match? Injury prone, hasn't wrestled in since September 2022. 2022. Hasn't wrestled since then. Injury prone CM Punk. Why would you risk putting him in a singles match out the gate? This way, you can smoke and mirror a lot of shit. You can have Cash and Dax do a lot of the work. And then he comes in with the big hot tag at the end. Like, I already see this structure here. giving the go to sleep to Juice Robinson. I see this happening. This all makes sense to me. Frankly, in Tony's boots, I probably do the same thing. Because the draw isn't necessarily the singles match. It's the fact that he's there. That's what we're all going to be watching. We're all going to be excited for CM Punk and a live mic, which there's no guarantee he's going to get either. Like, if he's the main event, do we start off the show with CM Punk? Or do we keep him for the main event? I don't know. I don't know. That, I don't know what I'd do. Konosuke Takeshita comes to the ring with Don Callis to defeat Damon Ace. It's a squash. After the match, Callis cuts another promo about, I'm going to tell you the truth about Kenny Omega and that the Elite, he and the Elite are a cancer and he's going to cut the cancer out. The same thing that he rehashed a little last week. You know, there's nothing exceptional about it, but the people were into it again. He was getting fantastic heat once again. Was it on the level of last week? No, because I think last week was a bit of a bubble, but it was still real angry heat. Sure, he took a couple of pauses to let it build, and you could tell maybe those were a little more manufactured than last week. Now you can, and you know, they're coming out without any music. They're doing that now. No music for Takeshita. To let the boos overwhelm. It was fine. It was fine. Look, you know, they want to establish Takeshita as a heel. And look at Takeshita when he pinned Damon Ace. Finding the live cam and mugging for it. I'm like, look at this guy go. Look at him go. Alex Marvez is backstage. He discovers that Christian Cage and Luchasaurus took out Brock Anderson because Arn Anderson sucks. Why isn't this about Wardlow? That's my thought. That's my only thought. And we get the AEW TBS title match. Kris Statlander defeated Anna Jay AS. Fine little match here. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well worked overall. You know, Anna Jay is, I don't think she gets the credit for how much she has improved in her character work, in her in-ring. You know, she's not tearing it down like Manami Toyota. You know, she's no Kairi Sane. She's no Io Shirai. But to say that she hasn't been improving is disingenuous. And you see, you put her in here with a match with someone, with a seasoned wrestler like Kris Statlander, and she finds her footing. She finds her spots. She's very good. This was good. Continuing to milk the return of Statlander here. The only thing that I'm worried about, this, I hope that TK learns from the streak and the TBS title to not start feeding Kris Statlander all sorts of opponents week after week and run through them, and then we end up to a point where we're like, well, who's left for Statlander, you know? Or that everyone's been geeked out. So then you try to reheat someone down the road and it's like it doesn't work out, you know? Like, I hope he's learned from that. So I hope that's not what they're doing with Statlander here. But they should return. They should milk her return because she's over. People love Kris Statlander. She's very endearing. She has a great connection. Anna Jay lands a gory bomb, rolling lariat by Statlander, who fights out of a Queenslayer and gets the win with a tombstone piledriver. Matt Menard tries to get involved as well in the match. He is fantastic as well. I enjoyed this match. I liked the structure of it. Made a lot of sense. Liked that one of the JAS boys came out to be in Anna's corner. I thought everything worked here. Then we get Toni Storm hyping up a match for next week's Dynamite. She's going to be fighting the winner of a four-way match happening on Rampage this week between Mercedes Martinez, making a big return, Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Sky Blue. I haven't seen the spoilers. I stay away from them because I usually watch Rampage on the Saturday morning. And I would guess that Britt doesn't win here. I would guess the Outcasts make it so that Britt doesn't win, and they just feed someone like Sky to Tony. Or Mercedes Martinez would actually be a better choice. I don't know what they have planned for her, but she'd be a better choice because I think you'd get a better match overall. With Tony and Mercedes Martinez working together would be outstanding. And then the main event, Jay White defeated Ricky Starks. Look, I thought, as hot as the show started off, I think everything sort of started to trail in the second hour, and unfortunately didn't pick up, and the main event just really didn't do it. It didn't click. This match didn't click as much as their previous match did, especially like the final third of the match, final half, final third of the original Ricky Starks and Jay White did, where it was really starting to pick up, and I was kind of disappointed by the ending. This kind of dragged. I don't think it was a very good match. And I don't know what to think about the Ricky Starks push match anymore. I really don't. I don't know what to think about his push. I think it's been invalidated. And this is unfortunately one of Tony Khan's worst booking traits, is that sometimes he doesn't know how to follow up on things. Ricky Starks went into the feud with MJF, MJF's first feud as a champion, just lasted a couple of weeks, was defended on TV. He came in blazing hot, just over-delivered on every level, rose to superstar in the eyes of many. A lot of people finally seeing the potential that Ricky Starks has, which a lot of us had already seen, which was, world championship ceiling. That's his potential. And we're seeing that it doesn't work out, of course, because it's MJF's first defense. It's not going to work out, but Ricky didn't come out looking like a bum here. Goes into the feud with the Jericho Appreciation Society, and I don't care what the bad faith people have to say. This was a terribly effective feud for Ricky Starks, who not only would defeat the JAS members over and over again, but fought Chris Jericho, twice? And defeated him clean as a sheet twice. So everything in order for Ricky Starks to continue looking like a superstar, and he gets saddled into this feud. And at first we're like, with Jay White, former IWGP, world champion and a star, an international superstar. And we already see the connections with the mic work and the ring work, and we're like, this is going to rule. But it's firmly placed in the mid-card with some very strange booking decisions, with the Juice Robinson getting involved and the Sean Spears, and what is going on, devaluing Ricky on a certain level, and then in the meantime unable to make Jay White feel like a big deal, make him feel like the superstar that he is, not giving them any promo time, not letting them banter at each other like this feud was nothing. And now this feud sort of ends in a bit of a splat instead of trying to elevate a guy. I don't think either guy really comes out of this, with people going, whoop, whoop, this was fantastic. We have a new star here. We got, or whatever. No one's star was really improved here. And then Ricky Starks gets punked out by the Guns. Is this what we're doing? I don't know if Ricky is being reprimanded for backstage behavior or whatnot. I don't know. There has to be a reason that we're not seeing on TV for this, other than Tony Khan just completely dropping the ball. There has to be some, because this is absolutely egregious how all of this has been handled. And if now we're moving into Ricky Starks feuding with the Guns on some level, I'm like, I couldn't possibly care less about this. And this is absolutely, it has been a significant demotion as to his position on the card, in which lane he's in. He's switched back lanes to a previously lower lane. I don't understand how this is working out. I really don't. So again, this is one of Tony Khan's worst booking tropes, is that sometimes he has difficulty with the follow-up for a wrestler after a feud, after it's all wrapped up. And Ricky is unfortunately eating the brunt of that. But I have to take, like I said, I have to take this a step further because it's so bad now. It is so incomprehensible to me that Ricky Starks is now going to be embroiled with the guns. That there has to be some backstage stuff happening where Tony Khan is laying the law down on Ricky and being, look, you know, something happened. I have to admonish you. We're not going to push you, like whatever, or we're putting your push on hold. There's something happening. And you can tell in Ricky Starks' face and mannerisms, the spark isn't there. That electricity, not to take a word from another guy he gets often compared to, but that electricity that he has legitimately ain't there. I feel like he's holding it back. You know, people say, oh, Ricky Starks is going to be out of AEW when his contract ends. I can't say the opposite. I have no reason to believe that he is an absolute lock, that he is absolutely going to stay. Look, I don't know when his contract is up, and I don't know when that's going to happen, and there's anything that can happen in the meantime. But let's be honest with each other. This feud with Jay White was a miss. The follow-up to his Jericho feud was a miss. And now it's going even deeper as we're settling in with the guns of all fucking people. It's nonsense is what this is. I don't understand it. And I can't apply the same type of logic with Jay White. Because as bad as I think Jay White has been handled, and this feud has been handled, and how Jay White doesn't come across as the star that he is, he's about to go to Collision. He's going to main event the first Collision with CM Punk. Sure, it's in a tag, it's in a trios match, but the point still stands. This is still the thing. He's going to be in a main eventing the big new show on the first night in the United Center. I hope it sells out so that Jay White can add that to his list of accolades. I single-handedly sold out the United Center in Chicago. I hope he can add that. But so, just to make my point very clear here, because I don't think I have trouble applying the same type of logic to Jay White that I do with Ricky Starks, because Ricky doesn't have because Ricky is feuding with the guns, and Jay White is now moving on to main eventing a Collision with CM Punk. Jay White is going to be fine. Ricky, I don't know anymore. I don't know what the plan is, and I think it is a terrible misappropriation of a star in the making. And you can only blame Tony Khan for this, and whether it's his lack of foresight or something happening backstage that he feels like he had to act on and reduce Ricky's push, I don't know. There's something going on. There's something that it just does not feel right. If we're transitioning to the guns, Ricky Starks, last fall, not even a year ago, a star, acting like one, wrestling like one, in an electrifying match. Again, I'm sorry for the words, but that's what they are. That's what it was. Electrifying match with MJF, newly crowned champion. Great feud with Chris Jericho. On top of it, comes out the clear winner of the feud. And now we're back down to the guns. What is going on? I don't understand it. I do understand that it is time to wrap up this edition of the Dynamite review. I hope you enjoyed it a great deal. If you're still listening, leave a like on YouTube, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, a rating on Spotify. 5 stars would be ideal. All these little things really do help grow the channel. And if it's your first time here, consider subscribing as well. I'll be back on Tuesday for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a fantastic weekend.